This is Michael de Laine of the Copenhagen Voice. I am at Gdansk in Poland talking about cleaning up the Baltic. With me is Markku Ollikainen, who is a professor of environmental and research economics at the University of Helsinki in Finland. Markku, research economics, environmental economics, you're a money man. How expensive will it be to clean up the Baltic?
Well, altogether it will be quite expensive, but nothing compared with the cost that we will bear on this climate change. So it should be bearable for the Baltic Sea countries.
But we've heard so many programs about cleaning up the Baltic. Are there any aspects that you feel that are absolutely necessary to deal with now?
I don't get your question.
No. Well, is there anything that you feel is necessary to start dealing with now in the Baltic?
Well, at this point of time, the best outcomes can be get from investing on the wastewater treatment plants. So as much money as we can, we should invest in Poland, Baltic countries and St. Petersburg. At the same time, we should improve our national domestic policies towards non-point sources like agriculture.
Like farming?
Well, let's say animal husbandry is the most important thing, and new and more effective means for crop production also needed.
When you say more effective, you're talking of more effective use of fertilizers and pesticides, or more effective use of the soil area?
Well, I mean both. We have too much land in cultivation, so we could shift it to other purposes. For instance, to sequester carbon. Example from Finland, what I've calculated is that we could abandon for this climate purposes 500,000 hectares, and still we could produce everything that we need on the smaller land area, and would obtain quite huge reduction in the agricultural nutrient loads.
So why don't we do this? Is it farmers' finances that stand in the way, or?
It is an incentive problem. So I would say that currently agri-environmental policies in the European Union are not targeted so well to water problems, and the climate issues are only emerging. So actually none has so far studied seriously what we should do to improve the sequestration of carbon in agriculture.
So you think that on the EU level, perhaps even in the individual countries, the policy should be much broader than narrow farming or narrow climate?
Well, at this time we have many chances of combining several important environmental policies to certain actions which help many parts of the environment.
Do you feel that there's an unwillingness to take political action, a sort of lack of ownership in the problem?
Well, this is then this, let's say, international policy level of environmental policies, and I would say that things are not that well taken for the Baltic Sea. The hydrographic features of the Baltic Sea create a very crucial asymmetry between the countries. So some benefit from polluting, and some have the damages. And those who are polluting, they are poor countries. So if we put them to purify, then the rich countries would get the benefits. So there's an obvious income distribution problem in making international policy. And I would say that the Baltic Sea Action Plan has not taken this into account.
So you would want some form of revision or additions to it?
I would very much like to see a revision of the program. We could take what is given now as a very, very long-term goal, but we should take steps in the middle and try to find a more binding system or agreement which also Poland thinks is useful for Poland and does not shift all the cost burden to it. So binding agreement is something that we should try to find for the near future.
You mentioned a nutrient trading system. How would that play in?
Well, that is something that we think that could be combined with a good agreement, because we could impose a system where all agents in the Baltic Sea are put responsible for their loads. So they have to pay a fee or a allowance price for any load that they run into the Baltic Sea. At the same time, by the initial allocation of the allowances, we could compensate for those poorer countries like Poland for their purification costs, which would work as a kind of income distribution device between the countries at the same time when it reduces the loads of nutrient, nitrogen and phosphorus.
So on the one hand you're saying that the polluters should pay, on the other hand you're saying that the richer countries should take a broader share.
Right, yeah, because we have at the same time we have the problem with fairness and Baltic Sea protection. The incentives are such that Poland, the Baltic countries do not have any special willingness to do anything. On the other hand, we have to save the Baltic Sea, and the Western countries are rich. The typical principle in environmental policy is victim pays, not polluter pays. So victim pays can be imposed, for instance, by direct investments, or for instance in this nutrient trading system by giving a higher amount of allowances to these poorer countries. Precisely the same thing that has been discussed in the climate policies.
So we can look forward to a bigger payout from Sweden, Finland, Denmark, maybe Germany, but it will help Poland, it will help Russia to clean up their pollution, and it will benefit all of us around the Baltic.
Yeah, that's the thing. One thing, another way of phrasing this is that if Finland and Sweden are selfish, then they would get the improved water quality by investing to Poland or by other means of giving money to them. It's a selfish policy which results in a better Baltic Sea.
Do you know anything about how this the situation is at the moment? Would Sweden, Finland, Denmark be prepared to do this, make this investment?
We know that the citizens' willingness to pay for protection is quite high. If we compare these measures to those that the countries have so far invested, the investments are much lower. So there should be willingness and chances for that among citizens.
But the politicians are...
Politicians, yes, they should rethink many things, I would say.
Okay. Markku, Ollikainen, thank you much indeed.